Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello, Billy Ho here, coming at you. 2023 Arnold Palmer Invitational Tournament from Orlando, Florida, at the beautiful Bay Hill Country Club. And five things before we get started. Just like always, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, notification bells, all that stuff. Uh, Preview article is out. I've added a ton of stuff to it. I got weather stuff. I got which holes are playing into the wind and which holes are with the wind. It's all kinds of stuff. So the link's out there everywhere. So check that out. It's pretty cool. Uh, so Arnold Palmer, second leg of the Florida Swing, and we know it's the Invitational, 120 players, standard cut. The last thing was DraftKings contest and the Discord. So those are the other two things. And just real quick on the weather, keep an eye on it. It's been locked in for this super gusty day Friday. A front's moving in. It's going to lower temperatures, possible AM showers or thunderstorms, scattered kind of stuff Saturday morning. And then the temperatures are down. Windy Saturday as well. So don't just think it's just Friday, but Friday is going to be wild days. So everybody's going to be talking T stacks and that and everything. And I'll ask my man right now, David, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, coming off a nice week. Could have been better.
Yeah,
I,
you
feel-
were
I
you were fire with some picks, man. And I even went when I went to message or get your message, I saw you had talked about Brett Druitt, and he hadn't even hit the DraftKings pricing, and you messaged me with his price, and I not only did he make the cut, I think he was up there in the top 30 or 20 or somewhere in that range. He had a pretty good Sunday. I don't know if
yeah,
you played him or not, but I mean,
I, I
hell,
I played him in like one or two lineups. The lineup that I posted in our Discord that I was in second place going into the start of Sunday. For those that don't know, I obviously play like 40 something lineups. 20 of them are always Rick's core cascading method, and then
right.
20 are like 20 max that I do is my method. And that lineup I posted in Discord was strokes gained total Florida courses, which was like short form since like 2021 or something like that. So that's what got me on Bryce Garnett, because someone in another Discord asked me, what the hell put you on Bryce Garnett?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, his course history is not bad. I mean, out of the last 5 years, he had missed the cut three times out of the five, but the two times he made the cut, he had good finishes. And then he popped in a couple different key stats. So that's what got me on Garnett. And obviously, I took a shot at Webb, and both Webb and Garnett absolutely imploded on Sunday. And
Yeah.
I went from second to 73rd. And in Discord, I'm like, if I had just gone Cole instead of Webb, just that one switch would have kept me in second place. And then if I go Justin Suh, who I had shares of last week, instead of Benny on, I think that takes me to first with just those two switches.
Yeah.
But it was that strokes gained total Florida over the short form that got me on Webb and Garnett. And unfortunately, they imploded, but it was still a good week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't do. I made a small profit. I Denny let me down. I had a pretty good 5 of 6, but I just Aaron. I was kind of high on Aaron Wise, and he scored great. I mean, I don't know what compared to his finishing position, he scored really well, and then he finally did go bogey free and 66 on Sunday to help me out, and going and running back, which you did as well, Sep Straka. I thought that was disrespectful having him 8,500. He's a great course fit. You got to remember that that course Honda favors players that can hit that draw. You saw Chris Kirk and Eric Cole both one after another, fairway, 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 draw, draw, draw. They were just tearing it up. It was just like automatic. They were just like rinse and repeat every time. Matt Jones a few years ago, he rips the draw. So that's one thing that I like. Shane Lowry's the same way, I do believe, and I think that's why he comes into Arnold Palmer this week and is not very good. And we'll get into that right about now. All right. Now, this is my article for the week. I was telling you that I added some stuff to it. started doing a Honda recap. If you saw this one, it was hilarious. The Akshay Bhatia looking like he comes straight out of an episode of Survivor, down there in the muck and the mire trying to whack it out. That was pretty funny. I've added a few extra things to the article with this is weather. Since weather's such a big deal this week with the wind and whatnot, I went and looked up some stuff on like which way the holes play. So you got like 2 through 7 is going to be in your face, and then there's a handful 8 through 13 is kind of how the course rotates around, and then you'll have the wind at your back. So, and this is kind of just like a quick breakdown of each hole on kind of how they play a little bit. So pretty neat stuff. Got some skill sets in here. Got my big dogs like I do every week, and this is a big dog tournament. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump over here and take a look at Dave's stat model, and I'm going to have Dave kick it off, and we're going to go 9K and up. And I'll jump in when I see something that you're talking about that I want to discuss as well, Dave. So just give us a couple of quick skill sets you're interested in this week, and get us going.
Yeah, always each and every week, strokes gained approach is going to be huge, and as you can see, it's rated out. The highest ranking that I put in my model, and then strokes gained off the tee. Because obviously I always talk about it. I consider Rick my guru, so I always use his regression model, and strokes gained off the tee is going to be very important based on his regression model. I think it was like 13th out of all the courses that are played, which is like 43 courses. Driving distance comes into play, so the guys that can hit it long as well are going to have the advantage. That wasn't the case in years past, and I know Tambo and Kenny went into this, in their podcast, that in years past it was more of guys that were hitting fairways, accuracy. But as the game of golf has changed and so many guys are out there bombing it, that bomb and gouge approach is kind of taken and flipped the game a little bit. So the driving distance has really started to come into play more over these last couple years. We're looking at putting, precisely more strokes gained putting Bermuda. And like I always mention, and we already know it, par 5 scoring is going to be huge, even more so at this course because we come into another very difficult course this week. So the guys that are able to score on the par 5s are going to be the guys that are going to be at the top of the leaderboards, because a lot of these other holes aren't going to give you much scoring opportunity. And when we mention hard courses, we got to talk bogey avoidance. So those are the keys that I'm looking at. And then I'll obviously go into some other sub factors or sub stats like birdie to bogey ratio, maybe proximity is going to come in, especially guys from like 200 plus this week, because all the par 3s except for one are over 200 yards. So right. We're going to see that, proximity come into play this week. And now as we go into, our golfers 9K plus, guys I'm looking at, probably going to start, I'll start exactly at the 9K range. Victor Hovland is someone I'm going to look at. I think it was a T2 last year, or maybe it was just a second outright. I don't remember, but he's for the most part, continued to improve and excel at his game with the years that he's gaining through the experience. Xander obviously is someone that you can focus on, rating out 4th in my model. Finau, who's ranking out 2nd in my model. Obviously, again, we're going off of this year's stats. And once again, I'm having difficulty trying to scrape stats from PGAtour.com. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can get hooked up the way Rick does, because he has something where they automatically send it to him. I'm going to hope that I can get it sent to me, because I've gone on other multiple, sites, that I'm looking at to try and scrape. They're just not that good.
Yeah. Well, I would maybe try DM Rick himself. If he's getting them, maybe he can pass them along to you, or help you along and get that done.
Exactly. So, because I want to try and keep my model as up to date as possible, and obviously I haven't over the last couple of weeks. These are still based off of the Waste Management was the last time I was able to scrape. So Finau, someone that even though he's ranking 2nd in my model, and he's playing great golf, I'm on the fence with Finau right now. Zalatoris, someone I'll be looking at. Morikawa, when we talk approach, he's probably the best person golfer in the field for strokes gained approach. Obviously, it used to be JT, but Morikawa has kind of taken over that fit, and then Zalatoris is another guy who is great on approach and great with his long irons. The three guys that are 10K up, all of them are obviously viable. It's just going to come down to where you want to look, and obviously this is first look projections, but we can see on Rick's showing that Rory is going to be projected out the highest as of right now, and then Rahm.
Yep.
So Scheffler's the guy. Obviously, if you want to try and get some kind of ownership leverage, it's not much. You got to think that as the week moves on, it's probably going to be pretty balanced out amongst these top three guys. Homa is someone that kind of fits this course. So, I mean, most of these guys that are 9K plus are all viable plays. It's going to come down to, where you're standing, where your leverage is. If you want to base it off of ownership projections, I would look later in the week. But as of right now, you're getting your leverage more so if you're going to be willing to go to JT and Finau. Those are the two guys, at least as of a first look projection, seem to be the lowest. So it's all about whether or not you're looking to just try and cash in contests, or if you're looking to try and take it down. I usually try to go and not care about the guys up top. I try and get different down on the bottom. That's where I try to get different. And obviously it got different for me last week with Garnett, who was not even 1% owned.
Right. Yeah. That's where you're going to get your leverage this week as well, because like you said, it is going to be balanced. I do think Rahm is going to hover because he is so much more expensive. Like he's 900 more than Rory. So I think he will stay significantly lower than Rory. Scheffler is closer. So I think these two might start getting just a hair bit more closer together. Like Scheffler might end up pushing 20 and Rory down to maybe 22. And then maybe Rahm hits. I think Rahm will stay under 20. It will also depend on contest selection, the size of the contest. If you're getting in like your 20 max, that's like 23K, 23,000 entries, these guys are all going to be more balanced. And then if you get into a single entry $100, you're going to see one of these guys be 28% and another one's going to be 16. So it does all depend. JT is obviously going to be the banger for the leverage up top. And Tony is, neither one of them play this tournament. And I think a lot of it, and there's reason for it. That's the thing you got to look at. Cantlay, he's never played this tournament. So guys like that never play this tournament, I kind of feel like there's a reason for it. So those are the guys that I might end up shying away from. And some of it is we need a break off of the West Coast swing, and we need some prep, at least a week off before players. So they might play Honda, then skip API. But now that it's an elevated field, they're all kind of obligated to play it. So it's kind of one of those locked in elevated fields like the 20 million purse. So they're always going to take advantage of that money. But up here, I was with you. I really liked Hovland right off the jump, and his ownership seems fine to me. Xander is if a little bit iffy. Willie Z, obviously, these guys are going to be popular. And my first look was lineup construction is the other thing. And my philosophy is just definite team jam them in this week. We're just going to have to look to try to get as many of these top players in as humanly possible. Sung Jae, I'm going to kick it into the 8Ks a little bit here. I would normally really love Matty Fitz, but we all know he hasn't looked very good, and he did come into Pebble complaining of a neck issue, but it was supposedly not a problem. But judging by his play, it might be a problem. But he's had a week off since Genesis, so this might be where you can get a little bit of leverage. I think this. If Sungjae stays down, because people were really disappointed in him last week, even though he made the cut and he 42nd, he didn't. His iron play cost him big time on Sunday, but he might have felt like maybe his heart wasn't in it because he was out of contention and it was a low field event. And maybe he was just thinking about this week, because he's got third, 21, 20. He's got some really good history here. I think he's a better course fit here. Honestly, he hits nothing but fades. So it's kind of surprising that he plays as well as he does at Honda. So judging from that, now we're going to get down into some guys that I'm interested in. Obviously, Jason Day is going to be super popular, but if you want to pivot off of him, and I know it sounds gross, and I put him in my article, but Jordan Spieth is your definite first true leverage play. And it is a little bit scary if he's 6.66666 ownership. That's if you're into like omens and satanic stuff, that's kind of scary. But he has played really well here. He had a T4 in 2021. He is another guy that doesn't play it a lot, but he hasn't been that bad lately. It's just been this stupid putter and a lot of these short misses. And I think a lot of it stems from lack of concentration and pure laziness, because he'll just walk over to the putt and one leg sticking out and he'll just swipe at it and miss a putt. And he's lost putting in 3 straight events. So I'm looking forward to him maybe getting shit together. He's also an excellent win player. So I am actually going to play a little bit of Jordan Spieth this week and try to get some leverage on the competition. Down a little further, one of the first guys I looked at was Terrell Hatton. Obviously a winner here, a second place last year. Came into Phoenix and played very well, hitting the ball. I think he might even added a little distance, because I don't remember him hitting at 307, but he's accurate off the tee. He's got his entire game's in shape, and that's the reason why he's almost 19-20% owned. Now, him, if you want leverage off of, you go right below him and hit up Hideki Matsuyama. Another guy, he just come off a missed cut, and a guy that you might not want to play because he's putter challenged, and I know that. He's lost huge here putting in the past, but he's got some pretty good history, and he is ball striking it very well. So if he can flip that putter, he's definitely going to be a guy at another 7%er that is going to be worth playing. So I'm going to not talk about every single guy. I'll let you jump on in here, Dave, and hit us up on some 8Ks and lead us into sevens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on everything that you just mentioned. Obviously, what we're looking at from a first look projection, Day's. I mean, when I was making this and looking over the field, Day was someone I was immediately drawn to. Especially the way he has picked up his game once again. He looks like one of the elite players again, like when he was ranked number 1 in the world at one time. He's back to that, close to it at least. And I was immediately drawn to it. But then I look at the first look projection on ownership and I go, wow, maybe he's someone I'm going to play in cash, but in GPPs, I can easily fade that projection if it's going to be that high and go to like a guy that you just mentioned in Spieth or Hideki, who Hideki hasn't missed the cut here in, the last 5 straight years he's made the cut. So Hideki would be someone that you gain leverage on in GPPs. Hatton, another guy that I'm really focused in on, especially for cash game plays if you're looking at that. Im grades out well. I did play him a little bit last week. I wound up putting him in just based on the ownership that he was getting. He's 38-40% last week, so I wound up playing him. But I could have easily have seen fading him last week. This week, I'm kind of on the fence. Fitzpatrick again. Is the neck really bothering him still? His history here is spectacular. Im's history here is even better. Mm-hmm. And I know Im's young, but at some point, the amount that he plays, maybe not physically going to catch up to him, but the mental aspect of it, at some point, it's going to catch up to him. The guy needs to take at least a week off,
Yeah.
just to not think about anything. And he's the guy that plays like each and every single week. And, I know at some point it's going to come back and bite him in the ass. And I don't know if it's going to be this week. I do think he's safe to make the cut, which is why he's one of Kenny's cash game cornerstones. But, like Cam Young is someone I'm looking at because like I mentioned, strokes gained off the tee, driving distance, that kind of yells Cameron Young. He He, as a debutant, last year was 13th. So that's something positive because this is a course where course history really comes into play. A lot of times first timers don't do that well. And for Cameron Young to come in last year and have a top 20, top 15 finish as a guy that played here for the very first time is quite, you know, enthusiastic, quite, something that you're going to look to say, wow, can he improve upon that this year? And he is the kind of guy that I think can do that. Whereas like Tom Kim, you would think that he kind of fits this mold. He's so far has been very good on Bermuda, but for me, Kim's probably going to be a full fade for me this week, as is, and it's tough to say this, but Sam Bermuda Burns. Um, I'm probably going to full fade him this week. Um, I didn't play any of them at Genesis. I didn't think Genesis was a good course for him. He
Yeah.
did look impressive at Waste Management, and he's looked pretty good here. But then going to the guy right underneath him, Keith, he has looked tenfold better than what Sam Burns has lately. And to save the $100, which isn't much, but I'd rather go to Mitchell, who also is extremely good on Bermuda. And I was really shocked at the fifth place finish he had at Genesis. I did not play him at Genesis at all.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the Florida swing to use him, but he really impressed me at Genesis, and I do think that he's someone I'm going to be focused in on as a core play this week at 8K flat, which takes us right down into the 7K range. And I know you mentioned, Shane Lowry, and looked really bad at Waste, came back at Genesis, looked really impressive, and then I knew he was going to do well last week at Honda.
Yeah.
The course sets up very well
Perfect.
for Lowry, where you would think that this would be, we're in Florida. He seems to like Florida, but he's looked really bad at this course. So I probably am going to be fading Lowry. The first guy I'm probably looking at, and I don't know how much I'm going to have him because realistically he hasn't impressed me either, is Corey Connors. He's someone I'll probably sprinkle in GPPs, but we've mentioned this in the past. He really relies on his finishing position for his DK points.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, he's in my player pool, but I don't know after I make my final lineup constructions if he's going to get in there. Because when I can get the guy that won last week, who's now priced $2,200 less than he was last week. Granted, like you mentioned, this is a stacked field, so it makes sense that he's going to be priced less. But when I can get the winner last week and look at the course history that he has here, I have no issue going back to the guy that just won last week on a course that he has excelled at, and he's actually done better at this course than he did at Honda. So Chris Kirk will be someone I'm gonna focus in on this week. Ricky Fowler seems to be back, just like Jason Day is back, just like Justin Rose seems to be back. Seems like a lot of these older guys seem to have refound and rekindled their game. Even like Kevin Tway, who we've mentioned in weeks past, have seemed to have found something in their game. I do like Ricky Fowler. Again, probably someone I'll use in GPPs, as will Keegan. I used a good amount of Keegan at Genesis, and he burned me. But I do think that I think he even sets up possibly better at this course than he did at Genesis. So he'll be someone I'm going to look at. Um, I know Fleetwood's getting a lot of chatter. I know Kenny mentioned Fleetwood. He doesn't have him in his cash game cornerstones, but he gave a hint that he is in his cash game cornerstones
Yeah.
as
I
like
saw
the
that.
fifth man in. So yeah, and I always like Fleetwood when he's priced in this 7K range, especially in an elevated field. I don't like
Right.
using Fleetwood when he's priced 8K and up. So Fleetwood at 75 seems very interesting to me. And I know that they also mentioned Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland is someone that the ninth place finish at Genesis was, impressed me. He seems to be kind of up and down still. He's not all there, but he was T5 here last year, so he's someone that I don't mind going back to. Um, and then, he played here last year, missed the cut really poorly. but he looked good last week. And here's another guy that, you're getting him, I think, at like 2,100 less than last week in Minwoo Lee. So, some of these 7K guys that played last week, I'm going to be looking at, and I don't want to go all into the 7K range. So I'm going to kick it
Oh
back to you.
yeah, yeah, all good. I'll take right there with Minwoo. I haven't really exactly pulled the trigger. His ownership is a little bit. I think it's going to get baked up a little bit more because of how well he came in and played last week. And like you said, he saw the course last year, so I can forgive the 100. That's fine. He's a guy that plays Euro guys, and you probably heard Mayo and other guys talk about this course and how well Euro players play here. So Minwoo is definitely on the list. You can see that 314 driving. So he fits that profile of bombing it off they're around the green and putting short game. I mean, everything across the board is a course fit. So I don't know if it's sometimes I don't see missing Fantasy National. That was one thing I did like about them is they had the kind of the off the tee tendencies for draw and fade percentages, and I kind of like looking at that for certain things like Honda last week, for example. But just off of memory in my head, I know some of these guys and how they play. Uh, Going back up, you had sparked my interest in Ricky. I was actually online looking at some polos and I was might give me a nice little orange dry fit polo, and I've been into the making t-shirts and whatnot. And I think I might buy me an orange polo and slap an Adidas emblem up here like I got the Billy Ho Sports right here. Give me a little Sunday Ricky going on with the orange because it was a really sharp looking polo. But Ricky 309 off the tee, he's got all the game going on. The putter scares me sometimes because he just doesn't seem to be consistent with it. Corey Connors, that's his problem. Like you said, finishing position is tee to green and approach and greens and regulation. He kills it. But if he he's minus half a stroke right now putting, which is probably all right for him. But in his defense, Bermuda is his best surface. Billy, with the way he's driving the ball, I can't go there. If he gets me, he gets me. He was on fire last year with that second place finish, so he could be a middling finish guy. But I don't think Lowry or Thagala or any of these guys are going to be. But I'm on board with you with Keith. Adam Scott, no, I don't think so. Justin Rose is kind of interesting to me. He's got some really poorly missed cuts, but this was 2020 was the COVID year, and that was the kind of the Hanma club switch somewhere around that neighborhood, and he was really never the same for the longest time. So a couple of missed cuts later, and now he's back to a win at Pebble, 18th at Farmers. He did miss the cut at Genesis, so it's play him at your own risk. He looks like he's lost a little bit of distance. He used to be a guy that hit it a long way. They used to call him sneaky long. So he's lost a little bit of distance. Maybe he's just getting up there a little bit or changed his swing a little bit. But he does have some back class here. So I don't know if I'll play him or not, but he might be worth a look, a deeper dive. On board with Fleetwood, windy conditions, tough conditions. He puts a little better. On the faster type greens, I think. So I'm going to trust him a little bit more this week. I'm with you there. The 7,500 is definitely a fair price. I like the ownership if it stays around 10 as well. Down here, this guy, Seamus Powers, got me wondering because we used to go, our boy, the DFS Tavern betting bartender, aka One Anzo, used to always say never play Seamus Power on long courses. Well, he kind of dispelled that myth over the last about 18 months or so, and he's 301 off the tee. He hits it far enough, and he doesn't seem to have any course history here, but his recent form is there. But that ownership is, if it's 12 to 15%, I'll pass. He would be a guy if you got the 2.93 or the sub 5, I'd probably go after. Luke List, speaking of not being able to putt very well, if he, I think tee to green and approach, he would probably be all right. at this course, judging from back in the day a little bit.
Yeah, now I'll throw it in on this. Like you just mentioned, List. Looking at the guys around Luke List, maybe it's just me, but I think he's overpriced. I honestly think he should be like 7K flat or even in like the high sixes. 73 just seems way too much for him.
I agree with you there. I think in the sixes, 68, 69 would be right up his alley. I always said he was perpetually overpriced. We used to both agreed on that for the longest time when in these tournaments, he'd be 85, 8,700. And I'm like, this dude ain't worth it. So I agree with you there. But then you get to the dude here. And I hope he doesn't get too much steam. But Aaron Wise, like I played him last week at 9,200. You talk about a price discount, and he's a guy that can compete here. 17th last year, and he got a couple of cuts before that. But he seemed to straighten out. He was a wild man. Like the first round at Honda, he shot, I believe, a 1 under and had 22 putts in that round. And that was his big issue for the longest time, was he could not figure out the putter. Well, he is on a roll with the flat stick right now. And we know he can hit it plenty far off the tee. So you can see the strokes gained putting is up there, and the rest of his game is all right. Off the tee, like he doesn't gain off the tee because his driver can be wild, but he seemed to have calmed it down and was hitting it pretty well Sunday. So hopefully he found something that he can build on. Moronk, like you said, is another guy. I mean, just rinse and repeat until he screws you over, and he's going to be sub 5%. Why not play him? He's plenty long off the tee. He fits that Euro mold. He's good around the green, and he's an average putter. He's, even with the field. So nothing wrong with that. You get down in here. I'd be curious about Detry. I heard he withdrew because he was sick. So I wonder if he didn't have a really, really shitty round one, feeling bad, and then just said, well, I'm out of here. So I think might be if he's 2.5% owned. The only problem is no history. That if he had one missed cut here, I would feel a lot better about playing him. So that might be in one of your you could throw him in your core cascade as one of your fixtures, and maybe you get 3 or 4 lineups out of 20 with him in a dollar or whatever contest you play in is possible. But getting down here a little further, guys that I would like to play, I don't see anything wrong with running Benny on back. He was fine. He did kind of fall apart a little bit on Sunday, which cost me a little bit of money. But he's got good history here. Taylor Moore, he bangs out some. He got a 42 last year, so he's seen the course, and he bangs out top 15s when he's on his game. He's not really special at any one thing, but he's pretty good at everything, and I kind of like that. So people mention Ryan Fox. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go with unknowns. I talked about Sam Ryder, potential WD. I don't know if he's probably doing everything in the world to play because of the money. But if you, I'm going to just go ahead and toss out a couple of guys, and I'll let you finish up, Dave. Just down here, because of my team jam them in mentality, you're going to have to get down in here into the lower sixes. And I mean, Will Gordon is not a bad thought down here. A guy who hits it a ton off the tee. I know he's had his struggles, but was on a really good run there for a while. He just hit Amex, Farmers, and Pebble out west and just didn't do well. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into him. But 6,500, why not? Zach Johnson, not long off the tee, but he's definitely cleaned up his game. He's making cuts, 12th place last week. Shank, I guess I finally got to get on the Shank bandwagon. He's long enough off the tee, and everything looks good with him. That people are betting him to top 20, Tour Junkies, I believe. And down here a little further, Trey Mullinax was mentioned. I think that's Kenny's last ditch effort on the cash games. Yep. And my dude, Charlie fucking Hustle. Let's go. I just want him to do well so bad. But he's got great course history here, and he's hit and miss. If he's shit with the putter, you can just forget it. But he's been, I believe, if I'll do a deeper dive, but he's been doing all right off the tee. If his off the tee game's going pretty good, everything else is all right. I mean, 6,300, what do you want? 70% green in regulations, 305 off the tee, and pretty just decent everywhere. And then, of course, the putter. So, but maybe a switch into the Bermuda surface. Wind player, Windy Charlie, play him in Texas. Windy, I'll leave it with that and take us home, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. A couple, you already mentioned Benny On. Benny On's probably going to be someone that will make my core cascade at 7K flat. And then I mentioned him last week, especially in tough courses, and another tough course this week. Really good course history here. Christian Bezadenhout is probably going to be someone that'll make my core cascade at 7,100. That should leave a good amount of money on the table to start going up. But then we get down in the sub 7Ks. Sub 7K guys I'm going to look at would be like Taylor Pendrith. I'm sure he's going to probably be quite popular. The way that Justin Suh has been playing lately, he seems like he's probably going to be, a fairly popular guy. He has played this course, missed the cut back in 2019, but at least he has seen the course, so he's got some kind of, knowledge, whereas these debutantes don't. Eric Cole, I have a feeling a lot of people are probably going to jump on Eric Cole's bandwagon after that second place finish last week, but I don't know if I'm going to get to him this week, especially a guy that has no course history here.
Yeah.
Danny Willett. I mean, Danny Willett's not that long, but at least he has played this course and he's done fairly well. And he's coming in, riding a 3 straight cuts made. So Danny Willett, someone I don't mind going to. These two guys I like, but they have no course history. But Ben Griffin and then Joseph Bramlett, who we know can crush it off the tee, and has been playing some really solid golf. Yeah. Last week wasn't great, but at least he made the cut. So Bramlett, someone I might be looking at. Possibly Garrick Higo. He missed the cut here last year, but again, at least he's played this course now and he's seen it. So, that 1 year of knowledge on the course might be beneficial. And then obviously you mentioned Will Gordon, Zach Johnson. Those might be a couple guys that I don't mind taking a couple darts at. Mullinax, same scenario as, Higo missed the cut here, but at least he's played it. And then this guy was a core play for me last week in Shank. So now I'm getting Shank at, again, he's coming in less than he did last week because of the stacked field we have. But Shank would probably be the last guy that I'm willing to take a shot.
And that'll do it for the show this week. Good luck, everybody, on the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Keep an eye on that weather. I want to thank the DFS chef, David, at the DFS chef on Twitter. Give him a follow. And until the next time, we will see you soon. Thanks for watching.